And we were lucky enough to be home when we had to tell our daughter that she could stop the fight, she could go on, and that we would join her when it was our turn. And then I held her as those bright eyes of her just turned dull. Probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I remember when I carried her into the house for the first time, and I thought of all those things she was going to get to do. What a wonderful time to be born. All those things that I could help her with. And then 11 years later, when I carried her out of the house for the last time, all I could think about was all the things she didn't get to do. All those things that she was robbed of because of a disease. I am very thankful for St. Jude because I got my daughter during that 8.5 years that she fought cancer because of their research. If it hadn't been there for their research, I might have only had her for a year out of that. But because of their research, I had her for 8.5 years. Now, 11.5 is too young to die, but it's still, I had her for that time, and I wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for their research. And that's why I'm so beholden to St. Jude.
And the one thing that you said that Suzanne said to you is, are people going to remember me?
Right. We only talked about death once, and she said, Daddy, if I die, will people remember me? And at that time, I said, well, it'll be my job to make sure you're remembered. And that's half the reason I do this, is because I want her memory to go on, but I also really would love to see a cure for this. And when Suzie was diagnosed, it was a 10% chance of survival. If she was diagnosed today, she'd have almost a 75% chance of survival. And that's because of the research. That's because people like your listeners have said 66 cents a day. I'm not going to miss it. And they become partners in hope, and they make that $20 a month donation. And the doctors can do research, and they will find a cure for these diseases that take our children.